Namaste, you're on the Nation at 5. I'm Anand Narasimhan coming to you live from the newsroom here at CNN News 18. We begin with news just coming through. Oh, it's just getting harder for Pakistan to get any bailout. The IMF now setting stringent conditions. The IMF officials are present in Pakistan for the 9th review, and despite marathon meetings and a lot of cajoling and, of course, begging by the Pakistani officials to try and give them some leeway, the IMF authorities are very, very clear. It's a CNN News 18 exclusive. Our investigations editor Manoj Gupta getting us these inputs, saying very clearly that Pakistan's economic and political crisis really exploding at this point. The IMF wants all political parties on board to signing and agreeing to the bailout package and the conditions to the bailout package. The IMF is not ready to bail out Pakistan with just the assurances from the current disposition. They want assurances from all parties because they also realize how politically unstable Pakistan is, and whoever sits on the throne has to go ahead and adhere and honor the commitments that will be made as conditions of this bailout package. Now, this is at a time when Islamabad is also facing a huge political crisis with the former Interior Minister of Pakistan, Sheikh Rashid Ahmad, who was arrested in the wee hours on Thursday. Clearly, the PTI, Pakistan Tehrik-e has opened up cudgels against the current disposition. The current disposition wanting to incarcerate or to try and ensure no challenge to them when they announce elections, and clearly going after Imran's very, very close aide, Sheikh Rashid, and before that Fawad Chaudhry, and Imran Khan himself saying that he could be arrested or assassinated because the plot is only thickening. At this time, to get all parties on board and get a consensus is going to be impossible. The IMF is also wanting ratification from the Assembly over all the steps that they are going to take, which would also a long process, which would take at least 2 weeks for approvals. So there is no way they are going to get this additional bailout. Out of the $6.5 billion package, they've just got about $3.5 billion. They desperately need another $1 billion. To take us through this, we have Ambassador Anand with us, and also Sushant Sareen, Senior Fellow ORF. Sushant Sareen, this is only going to further deepen the crisis. Many are saying it's just a matter of time before Pakistan declares bankruptcy. And with the IMF conditions, it's going to be very difficult for them to honor any of them.
Yeah, but Anand, you have to understand, why is the IMF imposing these conditions? Simply because the Pakistanis have been, playing the footsie with the IMF for the longest. They keep making assurances, they keep making promises, they keep signing on the dotted line. And the moment the money comes in, they completely and with gay abandon, they violate all their commitments. And I think the IMF has seen through that game. The IMF is now insisting that they need to upfront deliver on all their commitments. Otherwise, the IMF is saying, okay, fine, we are not going to do anything. Now, the Pakistanis tried first that they will try and get some money out of the Saudis and the Chinese and the Emiratis and the Qataris. Everybody said no. Unless you go to the IMF, we are not giving you money. Now they are going to the IMF so that they can get also the money from these guys. Now, both things are not going to happen simultaneously. And the problem for them is going to be that the conditions which the IMF is imposing is actually good for Pakistan. Right. It's ironical, but IMF is actually trying to save Pakistan from itself. The problem is the Pakistanis don't want to save themselves now. They still want to live off freebies. They still want to live off other people's money. They don't want to undertake the kind of reforms which they have to take, which I must add are going to be extremely difficult, because what it means is the contraction of the Pakistani state. The way the state is constituted right now, the state structures are constituted right now, will have to be slashed. The army size will have to be cut. The security force size will have to be cut. The kind of expenditures that the Pakistani government undertakes will have to be cut. Subsidies will have to go. All sorts of things will have to happen. So there is going to be a massive storm which Pakistan will have to go through before they can come on the other side. And they are not ready to do it. And the IMF is saying that if your calculation is that we will take out the due, then you've got another thought coming. Because if you don't deliver, we are not paying you anything. So I think that is where they are at. The only thing is that the Pakistanis might still sign on the dotted line. And then the moment the money comes, again play the same old games which they are so used to playing. So
But
that
here,
is where
this
we are
time
at.
around, these are
But
nearly
Anand, let me tell you
impossible
one thing.
conditions. Jay,
Let me just add
Jay,
one small thing. All
Jay.
of this that we are talking about, everything, right, what I've just said, is only for the next 6 months. It's only till
Jay.
June, when the IMF program ends. Life does not come and the world will not come to an end. Perhaps Pakistan will, but the world will not come to an end on 30th of June. Next year is another fiscal year where
Correct.
what kind of problems Pakistan is facing today, but even worse problems are going to come. And they've already taken money from every quarter possible.
Correct.
So,
And
so really they're staring down the,
barrel
they're
here.
staring to a black hole.
Yeah, not just the barrel, they've actually broken the barrel and dug themselves into a hole which just seems to be an abyss. Ambassador Anil Trigoniat, what's the way out for Pakistan? Can they actually do this? Cut Pindi to size is one of the conditions. Bring all political parties on board and make them signatories to the changes that they're going to make. And what they're going to do is they're going to punish the Pakistani people further. That's what they have to do if they have to get this money from the IMF.
Well, Anand, I think, as you know, that the IMF has very strict conditions which are directly impinging on the very basic policies any country really adopts. And the Pakistan has been one of the countries that has always violated. And as Sushant said very clearly, that it's been erratic regimes all along in Pakistan, and they have been surviving on the kind of issues that they have made with the Americans, with the others, the kind of deals that they have cut all along. So they have been hoping that this time also they will be helped by the Americans or others. But the problem is essentially that this time there are multiple factors that have gone against them. A, this has been a man-made disaster. B, it is a natural disaster, be it because of the floods or because of the pandemic or the Russia-Ukraine war for that matter. But their own policies have, and zero-sum policy against India has also cost them dearly. And that's where the defense reduction, which is what IMF is saying. But I don't know to what extent can the current Pakistani government bring about a consensus in the country. That's impossible virtually because the PTI will not come on board under the current circumstances, and they'll continue to do that. But at the same time, one should also see what happened recently when there was a conference held where $10 billion were generated at the behest of the UN Secretary General, who even castigated the IMF for its conditionalities.
Well, it's just that जब मुसीबत टूटती है तो सब तरह से you're crowded from all sides, and Pakistan is not just crowded from all sides, from all dimensions. The problems are compounding for them. We've just got more news coming through soon after. Soon after, Sushantji, I'll just bring in this aspect and then I'll come across to you. Now, this is important because soon after the Peshawar blast, what's happening is in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, the law enforcement itself is now up at arms, and they're saying they're threatening the government with mass resignations if there is no serious, independent investigation and the perpetrators are not brought to book. The mosque blast at police lines, mosque area in the police lines area in Peshawar has claimed more than 100 lives, a lot of them policemen, and injured nearly 300. And these are all policemen largely, and they are coming up and saying this is enough. We are not going to tolerate this anymore. The Khyber Pakhtunkhwa police is actually on the streets protesting over the Peshawar Mosque blast. They are threatening collective resignations. Messages are doing the rounds, urging all the junior rank officers. There is an ultimatum that's been given. They're all signing collective resignations which they will hand over if there are no concrete steps taken and the perpetrators are not brought to book. In fact, we are hearing that ultimatums are being issued of 24 hours or 48 hours before which, and they're saying fixed responsibility, hold the culprits, we know who is behind the blast. And that's what they're alleging. The Khyber Pakhtunkhwa police is threatening to resign en masse if proper investigations are not done, or if the ISI obstructs investigation in the Peshawar district blast. Meanwhile, TTP's attacks are rising in Peshawar. Police officers have come out to the streets in protest against the police line mosque blast. Representatives of different schools of thought are also participating in the protest. The slogans of KP Police or Khyber Pakhtunkhwa Police Zindabad and Aman Gavaru are also being raised by the protesters. Protesters are demanding that a JIT or a joint investigation team be formed to investigate the police line's mosque blast. On the other hand, Mardan police has also come out on the streets against the threat. Junior ranks of the police force in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa province are threatening to resign en masse if a proper investigation into the police line mosque suicide bombing is not conducted and if the KP province sees a repeat of such violence. Sushant Sareen.
Yeah, Anand, before I come to this issue, just let me touch on something that Ambassador Kirunath mentioned. Actually, they've not got $10 billion. They're not going to get it also. Bulk of that money, including what has been promised to them by the World Bank and by the Islamic Development Bank, is money which was already promised to them earlier. So there's no new money coming in. And it's not money for balance of payments or for budgetary support. It's money for projects. And that will come over a period of 3 to 5 years. So that money, if they are banking on that money, it's not going to come. And whatever nonsense the UNSG, this fellow who's deeply in love with Pakistan, I don't know whether he's a Pakistani agent of some sorts, but whatever he says, Guterres, I don't think anybody really takes it very seriously. But now to come back to the more important issue which you have touched, I think what has happened in the aftermath of that suicide attack is something very, very serious. When you have a police force raise fingers and cast aspersions and doubts on the ISI and the Pakistan army for its complicity in this attack, then you have a really serious problem on your hands. It basically means that the state has started to unravel. When you have police officers quit en masse or threaten to quit en masse unless a proper investigation is done, then you have a really serious problem on your hand. It means that your state is atrophying at a rate which is unimaginable. And the reason why this is happening is that there are reports that this fellow who was the suicide bomber was a guy who had earlier been arrested in, I think, if I mistake it not, the Mohmand agency. He had been arrested earlier. He had been handed over to the quote-unquote agencies, which is the short form for the ISI, and then he was let go. Was he let go under the watch of Faiz Hamid? We are not sure. But clearly, he was the man who had been apprehended and let go, and he's carried out this attack. Number one. Number two, it is inconceivable. And regardless of whatever spin that the KP police guys, top-notch guys are putting right now, that the guy was in a police uniform, wearing a helmet and he walked in. You really expect somebody to believe that nonsense? In cases like this, the strictest kind of scrutiny is done when anybody enters a place like this. Just go to Srinagar someday. Try and enter the Badami Bagh cantonment. I'm sure you must have tried it. No matter who you are, even if you are a general in the army, you go through that entire, process. You are vetted on 3 different occasions before you are allowed to enter in. Right?
Correct.
You mean to tell me that these guys facing the kind of threat they have will just allow somebody on a motorcycle, a lowly cop, to just enter? Not even an SP, not a DIG, not an IG police? Are you kidding me? So clearly there are figures which are being pointed out at the ISI and the army, and the motives being attributed to them is that one, they're trying to delay elections. Number two, they are trying to show that we are in the midst of a war. These kind of things happen on the eve of an IMF delegation visit, so that we can extract more money from the IMF. The IMF can give us certain concessions on the conditionalities, stuff like that. So there are a whole lot of, and perhaps most of these are conspiracy theories. But the fact that in a country, these kind of conspiracy theories can start making the rounds at a time of such national crisis, I think does not augur well for that country or its ability to survive these multiple crises.
And if the establishment thinks that it's okay to sacrifice law enforcement personnel or any human being just so that you can make a case or create a mahal this is a failed state on display very clearly. To expect any level of humanity from this lot is trying to expect that the sun will rise from the west tomorrow morning. But that's not going to happen. But like you said, I think the people's anger is on the boil on ground, and I agree with you there, and it's manifest. And in this region of Pakhtunistan, as the Pashtuns call it, or Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, it's been brewing for the last 4 to 5 years through various forms of unrest. One of that is the militant form, the armed form. And moving to that, before I go back to Ambassador Triguniat, we just got information about the Tehrik-e Taliban Pakistan, which is getting further emboldened. Just days after a member of the Pakistan Taliban or TTP blew himself inside a mosque in Peshawar that killed over 100 people, although there are contradicting theories as to who that person was and why that person did what he did. The dreaded outfit has released a report on its activities carried out in January. It has claimed a total of 46 attacks in which 49 were killed and 58 people injured. They are putting out a bahi khata or a kacha chitta of the number of people they have killed and the attacks they have carried out. The TTP released an infographic on its attacks carried out in the neighboring country in January. The report of the militant attacks in different parts of Pakistan was released by TTP's Umar Media. A total of 46 attacks that have claimed 49 deaths and 58 injuries. TTP releasing this infographic in the month of Jan 2023, and the total number is this. According to TTP Media, it includes Charsada, Lucky Marwar, Kila Abdullah, D.I. Khan, North Waziristan, Pashin, Khanewal, Sorab, Tank, Swabi, DG Khan again, South Waziristan, Khyber Agency, Quetta and Peshawar. These are all the places where they have carried out multiple attacks. TTP Media also claiming that in the month of Jan 2023, 107 security personnel got hit, which includes 60 policemen, 25 army personnel, 13 FC and 9 security agencies. The TTP has held 9 targeted attacks, 5 grenade bomb blasts, 8 ambush attacks, 4 assault attacks, 8 guerrilla attacks, 4 counter attacks, 7 sniper and laser attacks, and 1 suicide attack. The TTP is putting out this entire list, Ambassador Anil Triguniat. They are claiming 60 police personnel among many more killed.
Well, Anand, I'm not surprised. I mean, it is their own child who has gone rogue. Basically, that's what it is. I mean, it is like the Baswasura story. Frankly, they are the ones who have been using the terrorism or cross-border terrorism as an instrument of their foreign policy all along. And they have been nurturing all these kind of groups in different parts, and now they're coming to get back at them. So I think that this is the Pakistani establishment, that is a deep state, which is what is to be blamed for this kind of things that have happened and will continue to happen. Pakistan today is a failed economy and is a failed state. I mean, that's it.
Sushant Sareem?
Yeah, and what you need to look at, Anand, is they've been issuing these kind of, a report card on their activities ever since, I think, from around 2021. From around 2021, they started issuing this. There was a hiatus in between when there was the ceasefire of sorts, but from, I think, around November, these reports are coming out at the end of every month. But I think what is quite remarkable in these reports is the expanding footprint of their activity.
Yes.
Initially, most of these activities were carried out either in some districts of KP or in the so-called tribal districts, the former FATA region. Now you are looking at Sindh, you are looking at Punjab. Khanewal, for example, is in South
Yes.
Punjab. There are reports of attacks in Lahore, in Rawalpindi. You are looking at Quetta. You're looking at other parts of Balochistan. So just look at the expanding footprint of their activity. And I think that is something which is quite should be of great concern to the Pakistanis, which means that all this talk that these people had been finished, their backbone had been broken, that's a load of nonsense, right? And clearly these guys have not only come back, but even more importantly, look at the kind of political games they are playing.
Yes.
It is a faction of the TTP which has taken claim for the attack. The TTP itself has distanced itself from the attack, but it has not distanced itself from that particular faction.
Correct.
So I have done it also, and I've not done it also. I've condemned it also, but I owned it also.
Yeah,
The
so I've
same thing
condemned
is in
it
the
plus.
Afghan Taliban.
Yeah.
So, you know, when you look at it in that context, basically it is karma coming back to bite the Pakistanis. These are exactly the kind of games the Pakistanis have played while, exporting terrorism into India, exporting jihad into India. These are exactly the kind of statements you've seen one obnoxious Pakistani foreign office spokesperson after another, their political leaders say.
Right.
And this is all coming back to bite them. Let me give you an example. You know, every time we would talk to the Pakistanis, both at official and unofficial level, they would, taunt us that, you have this nice fence along the LOC. People have
Correct.
to travel for more than 100 kilometers to reach Srinagar. Why don't you stop them when they enter into your jurisdiction? Why have you made this fence? Now the boot is on the other foot, because people who come from Afghanistan also cross a fence. People who come from Afghanistan also travel over 100 kilometers to reach the targets. And what do the Pakistanis say? And the Afghans are now telling the Pakistanis that, look, this is your problem. You sort it out. It has nothing to do with us.
Exactly. I was just going to go to that only because we've just got Muttaqi's soundbite here, where Afghanistan Taliban have rejected allegations that their territory was used in the week's the Peshawar Mosque bombing, urging the neighboring country, that is Pakistan, to thoroughly investigate such terror acts before blaming others. Taliban Foreign Minister Amir Khan Muttaqi has said that Pakistani officials should find a solution to their security challenges locally and desist from sowing seeds of enmity between the two Muslim nations. This is what Muttaqi has said. Don't blame us for the bombing, you do your own investigation. So the shoe is on the other foot, Ambassador Trigoniat, as Sushant Sareen was saying.
I mean,
if I might ask, isn't this exactly the language which Pakistani Foreign Office spokespersons used to use with India?
Yeah. No, yes. Yes, Ambassador Trigoniat.
Look at the Taliban has been maintaining their own stance that they had. You see, when the Rawalpindi people went to them and asked to intervene with the TTP, they refused, the Taliban government. And today they are saying that because their basic fundamental assurance to the world is that they will not allow Afghanistan to be the pedestal for exporting terrorism into any other country. Right? So that's their own. So they continue to maintain that. So Muttaqi obviously has distanced himself and anything to do with Taliban. And they are totally saying that this is for the Pakistani government to essentially somehow or the other resolve it, their own contradictions.
Well, we've got more news coming through. We've now got another rabble-rouser. This is Saad Rizvi of Tehrik-e Taliban Pakistan. This is a banned outfit. It was previously banned. This Tehrik-e Taliban Pakistan party, Saad Rizvi, has asked the Pak government to go to nations with a nuclear bomb in one hand and Quran in the other. And instead of begging for aid, Saad Rizvi was talking about burning of Quran in Sweden and the Netherlands and said that the response by the Pak government was weak. He said the Pak government failed to teach those who burnt the holy book a lesson.
सदर को लेके वजीर आजम को लेके अपनी तमाम काबीना को लेके जहाज भर के पाकिस्तान की इकोनॉमी बचाने के लिए चीफ ऑफ आर्मी स्टाफ को भी आगे लगाकर दुनिया में जाकर हर एक के दरवाजे पर भीख मांग रहे हो। कोई तुम्हें देता है, कोई तुम्हें नहीं देता, कोई अपनी शराइत मनवाता है। क्यों जा रहे हो? कहा जी मुल्क की इकोनॉमी खतरे में है, हम मुल्क की मैशत बचाने के लिए जा रहे हैं। मैंने कहा इधर आओ, तुम कहते हो पाकिस्तान की रोडों में निकलने से कुछ नहीं होता, एक बार बाहर निकलो, कुरान को दाएं हाथ में उठाओ और एटम बम वाले बक्से को बाएं हाथ में उठाओ और पूरी काबीना भर के स्वीडन ले जाओ और जाकर कहो कि हम कुरान के तहफ़्फ़ुज़ के लिए आए हैं। सारी कायनात की नेमतें अगर तुम्हारे पांव में ना आ गई तो हमारा नाम बदल के रख देना।
So we have now such rabid radicals and rabble-rousers getting a free run in Pakistan, Sushant Sareen.
Yeah,
holy book in one hand, nuclear bomb in the other. They will go out and say on public platforms, and nobody will take any action against them.
Yeah, before I come to Saad Rizvi, just one more thing which I wanted to say on the previous issue. You remember that in 2004 the Pakistanis signed an agreement with us, just like a Doha agreement, that we will not allow the use of Pakistani soil for terrorism against India. How did that pledge or that promise turn out? This is the same thing which the Taliban have promised the world. And how is that turning out? So no difference there. Again, you can, it's very clear how the Taliban are behaving. They've learned well at the feet of their treacherous masters, the Pakistanis. But on Saad Rizvi, look, no surprises there, Anand. Saad Rizvi's father, Khadim Hussain Rizvi, has this celebrated clip on how to solve Pakistan's debt problem. He said that we are, as a Muslim country, we don't believe in interest. So we are not going to give you interest, right? Yes, you have given us loans. So we promise to return your loans, but we will return it at our own sweet will, whenever we have the money. And if you press us too much, we will throw a nuclear bomb on you. So what Saad Rizvi is saying is exactly the same thing. He's not talking anything different from his now deceased father. He's saying the same nonsense which his father used to spout. But the important thing is, Saad Rizvi is getting enormous amounts of support on the streets of Pakistan. Among the dispossessed and the unwashed masses of Pakistan, Saad Rizvi and his party is striking a chord. So we might dismiss him as a rabble-rouser or as the rants of a madman, but these are the kind of crazies who are actually now likely to run Pakistan, which is great because nothing will destroy Pakistan more than what these guys will do. So rather than being afraid of these, I think we should encourage these guys to take over power in Pakistan.
Right. Well, Ambassador Anil Trigunyat and Sushant Sarinji, thank you very much for joining us here on this edition of The Nation at 5. We've just got more news coming through. The MEA has reacted to the vandalism on Hindu temples in Australia and in Canada. We've conveyed our firm rejection of the so-called Khalistan referendum and politically motivated exercises. We've requested Australia to ensure safety and of the Indian community and do not allow use of Australian territory that will be detrimental to the integrity of India and its national security. This is what Arindam Bagchi, spokesperson of the MEA, has said. They've also said that we strongly condemn such attacks by extremist elements and urge local authorities to punish perpetrators. We've been repeatedly taking up our concern with Australian authorities about action by elements including proscribed terrorist organizations. This has also been said. Listen in.
We have also conveyed our firm rejection of the so-called Khalistan referendum and the politically motivated exercises by extremist elements. We have been repeatedly taking up with the Australian authorities our concerns.
Time for a very short break here on The Nation at 5. Stay with us.